Greetings, everyone. I am going to show you some pretty interesting things. So, amongst the sort of things that I kind of collect, I do like to stumble into Hot Wheels or Matchbox or, well, dinky cars. And this is something that's like a reminder of childhood. Most people don't remember phones like this, a rotary phone. Anyway, this was like a staple toy for a lot of people growing up. You can even see stuff like this, which is a duck. And this one will actually glow in the dark if you hold it up to the light. It's pretty slick. Somewhere I think I have a gold one of these, or maybe I gave it away. I have a tendency to give away a lot of those. Uh, and this is, of course, just the classic duck. And something that pops into mind with seeing a duck like this, if that'll even stay, I don't know. Let's see. Anyway, these two guys. So this is Bert, and this is Ernie. And I think the world of these two characters. Now, growing up, if you watched Sesame Street, you knew, well, most of us didn't know that there was kind of a vaudeville kind of thing going on with these two, where, one was silly and the other was serious, Uh, that's sort of the best way that you'd have like odd groupings or couples or what have you that would, yeah, one would play off the other. You wouldn't have serious all the time. There would always be kind of like one more so than the other, kind of like opposites. So, anyway, that's what today's drawing is going to try to encompass, and let's see where it goes. Now, something interesting is a lot of you probably already know this. Jim Henson uh, surrounded himself with incredible artists, and a lot of those artists are still doing cool stuff today. And Guy Gilchrist is still a fantastic artist. So it's sort of referencing Guy and how much Ernie is, a part of my core childhood sort of memory thing. I'm going to do a kind of a doodle of Ernie. And this is going to be freehand, of course, because that's the way I do things, and we'll see how this goes. If it's not great, we'll be okay, because, well, this is what we use the sketchbook for. It's just for fun, right? So, Ernie to me has a round nose. Not just to me, to pretty much everybody. I mean, it could be a little bit oval, and that's fine. But he's got different kind of Muppet eyes. So I'm going to call them like a leaning egg. Just like that. Right here, we'll put in a couple of pupils. Now, this is going to be the kind of fun and difficult part. I want the nose to kind of overlap the mouth just a little bit. We're going to go almost an eye width wide on either side for Ernie's smile. Just like that. We'll kind of give him a little bit of his football head. Like so. Now, we need to find a way to encompass his mouth with a little bit of a smile. So I'm going to add just a little gap on either side of that mouth. And I'm going to start the mouth and jaw just a little bit like that. Now, a lot of Muppets kind of look this way. This is kind of their face. I guess you could say this is like a foundational sort of look as well. Now, what shall we do with the hair? Because what we got going on here, this is pretty special that Ernie has on the go. And this right now could be Grover. This could be a lot of different characters, I suppose. But let's stylize some hair for our friend. Although a lot of the time it's pretty askew, meaning it's kind of all over the place. I'm going to dip my pen here. Now, he's kind of a prankster. And one of my favorite, and you know what? I don't even know if it exists out there. It's got to exist. Maybe it can't be in my head. It has to do with counting sheep. And I'm not even sure now if it's primarily, yeah, I'll have to think about this. Anyway, so the skit is there's only one sheep. And when counting sheep, the poor creature has to run back and forth to jump over the bed to be counted. So I'm pretty sure that's a Bert and Ernie type thing. Now I don't know. I'll have to look that up. Next. So he's got pretty cool ears. Let's see if we can get some version of that. Kind of bring it to eye level just a little bit. I think that kind of makes his head just a little bit better. Something like that. Now, we'll give him a shirt. Now, I don't have a reference in front of me, but I did watch a couple of videos. And as is my habit, I like to try to draw from memory after the fact. Even though I just recently, watched a couple of things just because it was hilarious. But I did recognize a pattern with this shirt, and I'm not doing a color drawing. I'm going to stick to black and white here, but it basically goes like a thick blue line, then a thin white line, then a thick red line, then a thin yellow line, and the pattern kind of repeats horizontally. Does that make sense? Maybe, maybe not. Now, we're going to change a couple of things possibly here. As I said, I'm not going to do a color version of this. And what I'm doing here is I'm leaving some room in his hand. And what do you think I'm going to put in our buddy Ernie's hand? We're going to try to put in a rubber duck, just because I think it's funny. And the Rubber Ducky song is a classic and beloved by, well, more than just me. Rubber Ducky. I'm a big fan of Rubber Ducky. Although I haven't had a rubber ducky in a bathtub in quite some time. You know, that almost looks a little bit like a cardinal or something. Let's give him a little bit bigger cheeks there. And so that. I think that would be a rubber ducky. You know, if I were so crafty, I would color this in just a little bit. I don't really want the videos to be long. Kind of want you to follow along if you wish. Get out a pen and paper and draw one too. I am going to add a little bit of color to that. We're just going with the upper body of Ernie here. And I'm going to move a couple of things around here. Okay, so Ernie's kind of orange in color, and let's see how this looks. Maybe we'll go back in after, but it wasn't my intention to color. But when you have a yellow rubber ducky, I mean, I can use my imagination. That's not a problem, but and I'm sure you can too. But I will say this much about our buddy Ernie. I think he's normally a really good roommate, but sometimes he can be a bit much. There's this thing about Bert. Bert likes pigeons, Bert likes bottle caps, and Bert likes oatmeal cookies. Now, I think a lot of people like oatmeal cookies. Bert really does like oatmeal cookies. They're kind of his favorite thing as far as, like, you know, little treats and whatnot are concerned. I mean, Cookie Monster likes cookies in general. Anyway, I remember watching Ernie eat some of Bert's cookies. And this would have been a pretty high-skilled kind of thing going on, because he ate them in such a way that the number of them didn't get smaller, but the cookies themselves did. So they were good-sized cookies before Ernie got to them, and they just kept getting smaller and smaller. He'd eat around the outside of the cookie. Now that's something I couldn't do in my family because they would immediately notice. And I think that's sort of the joke of it, is that Bert immediately noticed. You know, they went from a regular size cookie down to the size of, like, well, maybe quarters or something like that. So I promise you, Bert noticed. Anyway, some of the things that they would get up to, it was pretty funny. Especially when you're a kid watching this stuff. It is outrageous. Now, I'm almost done with that. That looks really, really orange. And if I do find a golden rubber duck, I'll show you. But I don't really think I have one anymore. Like I said, I tend to give them away. Let's go with this sort of a red for nose. Now it's funny to me, and I'm pretty sure people of a certain generation to this very day would know the theme song to Sesame Street. I'm going to hold on to this red. I'm going to find blue, and I'm going to get yellow here. And like I said, there's a bit of a pattern, but we're going to start off with taking care of this rubber ducky. And if I were so crafty, I would have used Hudson's permanent ink, because this drags out just a little bit as you use it, which makes it kind of fun to use, and you have to be careful and all that kind of stuff, not to get too close to the edge. Okay, let us start off with red, and I'm going to start with red here. We'll go just a little bit wide with it, although it may be unnecessary for us to really worry about that so much. So that's red, and then we'll go yellow, and really it's just going to be only a few of us that look for that pattern that's going to know that's what that looks like. And then blue, perhaps we could have gone with a darker blue. Then it goes white. No need for a marker for that. We'll just try to leave a little bit of space. We'll try to go through this a little bit quicker. Then yellow. We won't forget the top. we're just, we want to pick one spot to start for uniformity's sake. Then white, then it goes to red. We'll leave a line there. We'll try to be a little bit precise. Drop it in a little bit thicker. Then yellow. Blue. White, then red. Something like that. Now we go back up to the top and we'll finish off that line. We're working the opposite way. This is what I feared about doing the coloring part of, which is fun to do, but it takes time to do this kind of stuff. And since I do things in real time on this channel, I don't really want to make 3-hour-long videos all the time. Although secretly, I could if I wanted to. It's not a big deal if I do. No one has to watch it either, to be honest with you. Now, before I work on the sleeves, let's do the cuff in yellow here. And the collar, we'll scratch in some yellow. Just like that. Now, this is where we get serious. We can try to see if these lines will meet up from there. Not really necessary if they do, but let's do a couple of them that way. I don't mind that so much. Do. Now, let's say from here. Oops. We go all the way to that cuff. Here we go all the way here. And we'll just see a little bit there. Now, we're going to go for the blue. And we're coming to an end. We'll fill in the pupils after. That would have been better if I were going to use the yellow before I went to the blue. Mainly because, well, sadly, they don't really bleed nicely into each other. The blue is darker, of course, as you know, and I don't want my marker tip to be green. So I may just leave it and chalk that one up to a good old-fashioned, maybe next time, plan on that type thing. And we'll giggle and laugh about it. Because, you know, whether or not you can see it, I can see it. And, you know, I could use the bunny pen, actually, for the yellow. It wouldn't bleed through. I think I like our buddy Ernie here for what he is. All right, so, oh, you know what I didn't do? I didn't assume something here. You should be able to see some of the shirt through his hand. I'll go a little bit here as well. All right. Dip my pen, do an outline, and then we'll call it done. Small of the arm. So you can let me know in the comments down below. Do you have a favorite Muppet? I've always, as I said, I've always been partial to Ernie. And of course, Kermit. I don't know if I like Count very much. Not because I found him to be sinister, it's just, I don't think I really enjoyed. Sort of like Guy Smiley. I don't know. I didn't really enjoy Guy Smiley very much. It's sort of a game show host, mostly. I've always liked Grover. Somewhere I have a Grover book around here still. One of those things where, you know, he talks about there's a monster in the book somewhere, so be very careful when you're reading the book. It's actually kind of pretty funny. Now this outlining thing that I'm doing here now, this is mainly just to show where certain things are. It's almost like, you know, you get hold of a coloring book after the fact. But yes, no, we're just making sure that the details that we started off with are still going to be there. A little bit of shading there. So if you get a chance, look up Guy Gilchrist. He's awesome, still doing awesome cartooning. He was officially the Jim Henson's cartoonist as well. So really cool. Really cool to see. Because Muppets are capable of making lots of faces. But thanks to Guy, well, they can make even more. Although Kermit had one of the most expressive faces of all the Muppets, I think. I think Elmo does a pretty funny job too, if he's looking, you know, perturbed. I'm just sort of making sure that some of this hair isn't all just kind of gray. Right here, we'll just say go back in, make sure that some of the lettering is legible, and hopefully you're all still practicing your cursive writing. Keep that art form going, folks. All right, that's it. That is our buddy Ernie, and a little longer than normal just because I took the time to actually kind of color that in. So anyway, folks, I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for hanging out, and yeah, hopefully we'll see you at some point in the near future. All right, ciao for now.